For Chewy first phase of production, they are going to prepare peanuts to be made into peanut butter. So they're getting a bunch of raw, just natural peanuts that come in. What do they have to do to get those to be ready to be made into peanut butter? Well, they got to get the shells off, they got to get the husks off, they have to roast them, and if need be, they can add some other things to them, salt, etc. So in this first phase of production, we're taking raw peanuts and we're getting ready to put them in a condition, be prepared, if you will, to make peanut butter. What cost could go up in here? Well, the easy one is direct materials. It's just the cost of the peanuts coming in. We're going to run machines that are going to shell and roast these peanuts. So the laborers who are operating those machines would count as our direct labor. And then those machines are going to need maintenance. They're going to depreciate. All of those things could go into manufacturing overhead with what other ever costs we have in this department, like our utilities or any indirect labor, materials, etc. So as our production process starts in step one, in phase one, when we prepare these peanuts, we are going to track the cost of materials, labor, and overhead that are incurred in the process of preparing peanuts to be made into peanut butter. And when we do that, we're going to use an item called a production cost report. It is a document that accountants use to track both the physical flow, and by that I mean the number of units, and the cost flows, the accumulation of costs that go into it as units are being made within this first department. We're only going to track for the peanut preparation department in this example in our PCR, our production costing report. And when we're done, it's going to look a little something like this. Now, we'll go step by step later on how I arrived at these numbers, but the form is incredibly important over here. We have to track the physical flow of units. That's how many, in our case, cases worth of peanut butter jars have come through the peanut preparation department. So we have an area that tracks the actual physical units. How many cases worth of peanuts do we have to account for? How many do we know at the end of the period are still being worked on in this department, and how many of them were transferred out to the next phase of production? Over here, to keep things simpler, we're going to just have two columns. Direct materials is just like it sounds, is direct materials. Conversion cost is a fancy term for all of the costs that you incur to take those direct materials and get them in a stage where they're ready to be transferred to the next phase of production. Well, what could those costs be? The cost of paying the people that know how to do this, your direct laborers, so labor costs would be in there, and then the cost of operating the machines that they need to know how to do this, so your manufacturing overhead would be in there. So conversion costs for the purpose of this production costing report are going to be both of our labor costs and our overhead costs during the period. So the top portion of a PCR tracks your physical units, while the bottom portion tracks your costs. You'll have costs that were already committed before the period started to units which were WIP when the period started. You'll have the costs that were added during the period, so how much we paid for labor, materials, overhead, etc. during the period. And then with that, we can figure out what our cost is to complete any one given jar. And with that information, we can determine how much of the total cost that we had in this particular department, in the peanut preparation department, how much of that total cost should be assigned to units that got transferred out to be further produced in the second step of production, and how much of that should be assigned to units that are still a work in process or when the period ends, or in this case, this department's ending WIP. So in the next video, we're going to go step by step to see how this document was completed. And it's hard to have it all on the screen at once and be visible, but this is what we're going to work towards, the full completed PCR, which is going to tell people everything they need to know about the physical flow of units and the costs that were incurred in this department where they ended up.